Welcome in everyone to this deep dive, and today we'll be exploring Taiwanese folk festivals. We're going to be looking at that source you sent over, Tini Tu Oker, and I gotta say I'm already pretty fascinated by this stuff.
Yeah. It's incredible how these festivals kind of capture like the whole human experience. You see these universal themes like family and spirituality and the passage of time, but they're all kind of like filtered through this uniquely Taiwanese lens. It's really something.
It really is, and it just shows how strong these traditions are. I mean, they've been passed down for generations and are still going strong today. So why don't we just jump right in? Let's start with the biggest one, the one that everyone knows, Lunar New Year, or this is not just like a one-day thing. We're talking New Year's Eve all the way to the 5th day of the first lunar month.
Yeah.
It's like a whole festive marathon.
Yeah, it's huge GE, culturally and even economically. It's all about fresh starts and setting the tone for the year ahead. Like, take the whole sweeping dust tradition where families clean their homes top to bottom.
Right.
It's not just about, like, actual cleanliness. It's way more symbolic, getting rid of any bad luck from the past year and making room for good fortune.
Yeah, that makes sense. Out with the old and in with the new. And speaking of new beginnings, food plays a big role in all this too. Like nian gao, the sticky rice cake. It's a classic Lunar New Year food. But it's not just about how tasty it is. It's also about rising fortune for the coming year.
It's like you're eating your way to a prosperous year. And visually, too, homes get decked out with all sorts of decorations.
Yeah, all those spring couplets with those lucky phrases on them.
Exactly. And then there are New Year paintings with all these images of abundance and happiness. It's all very intentional, like they're inviting blessings and warding off bad vibes.
It's like the whole house is transformed into this like beacon of good luck. And you can't talk about Lunar New Year without mentioning reunion dinner. It's the heart of New Year's Eve. Families come together for this incredible feast, and every dish has a special meaning.
It's really a feast for the senses, A&D for the soul.
So what are some of the must-have dishes?
Well, you got to have longevity noodles, of course. They symbolize long and healthy life. Then there's turnip for good fortune. And fish representing abundance and, having more than enough for the year.
Right. And even pineapple makes an appearance.
Oh, yeah. The spiky exterior is said to symbolize prosperity. Oh, and don't forget the tang yuman, those sweet little dumplings. They represent togetherness and family unity.
It's all about strengthening those family bonds and spending time with loved ones during Lunar New Year. Now, after the feast comes the time for exchanging red envelopes or yasukian.
Yeah, it's a tradition where elders give these gifts of money to the younger generation. It's a sign of respect and well wishes for the coming year.
It's like a tangible way of showing you care and honoring family traditions.
Exactly, and the Lunar New Year celebrations actually continue for days after that.
Oh, right, with each day having its own special significance.
Like on New Year's Day, there's all the greetings and visits. Married daughters go back to visit their families. And there's a day for welcoming the god of wealth to ensure good business. And even a day dedicated to praying to the Jade Emperor, the ruler of heaven.
It's incredible how much tradition and symbolism is packed into this one holiday. Now, something I find really fascinating is how different regions have their own unique Lunar New Year food traditions.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this whole other layer of richness to the celebrations.
So, for example, up in northern China, what's the go-to dish?
Dumplings are king. They're shaped like those ancient ingots. So they symbolize wealth and prosperity.
Makes sense. And what about down south?
In southern China, it's all about tangwin, those little balls of glutinous rice flour. They symbolize family unity and togetherness.
Oh, yeah, I love those. Now, what about other parts of Asia? What are some interesting traditions they have?
Well, in Singapore and Malaysia, they have this amazing dish called lo hei. It's like a vibrant raw fish salad, and everyone gathers around to toss the ingredients high in the air with chopsticks. While they're doing that, they shout all these auspicious phrases.
That sounds like so much fun.
It really is. It's this wonderfully interactive way to usher in good luck and prosperity for the year ahead.
And I read that they even leave a whole fish uneaten at the end of the meal.
That's right. It symbolizes having more than enough surplus for the coming year.
It's amazing how these regional variations add so much depth to the celebration, while the core themes of family good fortune and new beginnings remain universal.
Exactly. It shows how traditions can be both unique and shared at the same time.
So from the grand scale of the Lunar New Year, let's move on to a celebration that's a bit more, how do I put it? Well, definitely bathed in a softer, gentler light. The Lantern Festival, or Wagyu. It falls on the first full moon of the Lunar New Year, marking the arrival of spring. And it has this really romantic feel to it.
Yeah, there's something magical about it, isn't there? It's like this beautiful transition from the excitement of the new year into something a bit more serene.
Exactly. And when I think of lanterns, I picture those delicate paper globes gently swaying in the breeze. But the Lantern Festival is so much more than just pretty lights. It's this vibrant spectacle, a cultural phenomenon that's almost as big as the Lunar New Year itself.
And when you look back at the history of it, it's really fascinating. There's this text from the Ming Dynasty that talks about 5 nights of these incredible lantern displays. It captures how much these displays captivated people even centuries ago.
It must have been quite a sight to behold. One of the things I love about the Lantern Festival is that it's got this really playful side to it, too,
Yeah.
with the lantern riddles, or people write riddles on the lanterns and then everyone tries to solve them.
It's like a giant moonlit puzzle party. But beyond all the fun and games, the Lantern Festival also has deep religious significance. For Buddhists, lighting lamps is like a symbolic offering. It's about illuminating the path to enlightenment. And for Taoists, it's a celebration of the heavenly official's birthday. He's a deity associated with good fortune and blessings.
So it's this really interesting mix of traditional religion and pure entertainment. No wonder it's become such a global attraction. I mean, I think even the Discovery Channel featured it on their Fantastic Festivals of the World show.
Oh, yeah, it definitely deserves a spot on that list.
Yeah.
And in Taiwan, there's this really unique tradition that adds a touch of folklore and whimsy to the celebration.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, unmarried women steal spring onions.
You steal them.
Yeah, it's all in good fun, of course. They believe that doing this will bring them good luck in finding a husband.
That's a pretty unique tradition.
It is, and it just shows how much these festivals are tied to hopes and dreams for the future.
And speaking of unique, the way different regions celebrate the Lantern Festival in Taiwan is incredible. It's like a whirlwind tour of the island's cultural diversity.
You could say that again. Each region puts its own spin on the celebrations.
So give us a taste of what we might see if we were to travel around Taiwan during the Lantern Festival.
All right, picture this. In the north, you have the Pingxi Sky Lantern Festival. Thousands of glowing lanterns fill the night sky, each one carrying wishes and dreams up to the heavens.
Wow, that must be quite a sight.
It really is. Then down south, you've got the Tainan Beehive Rockets Festival. Now, this one's a bit more intense. It's a spectacle of fire and noise, a vibrant and kind of chaotic celebration.
Doesn't sound like one for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. Then in the east, there's the Taitung bombing of Master Handan. It's a ritual where people throw firecrackers at a man who's representing a deity. It's thought to ward off evil spirits.
It's amazing how diverse these celebrations are.
It is. And then finally over in the west, there's the Pengyu turtle begging ritual. This one's a bit quieter, but equally intriguing. It focuses on prayers for good fortune and a bountiful harvest.
So it's like a whole spectrum of experiences from the serene to the intense.
You could say that. It's like North Sky Lanterns, South Beehive Rockets, East Handan, West Turtle begging.
I love that.
Yeah.
So from the ethereal glow of lanterns, we move on to a festival that's a bit more, well, it's definitely rooted in ancient rituals and the need to ward off evil.
Yeah.
The Dragon Boat Festival, or delicious. Our source says it's all centered around the 5th lunar month, a time that was traditionally associated with bad spirits and misfortune.
Yeah, it's interesting how these ancient beliefs still kind of linger in these celebrations.
It really is. And the Dragon Boat Festival is often linked to the historical figure of Kuo Yan.
Right, he was that patriotic poet who drowned himself in protest against corruption. But what's often overlooked is that a lot of the Dragon Boat Festival customs actually predate him.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it suggests that the festival has even deeper historical roots.
Like there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Exactly, it adds a whole other layer of mystery to it.
Now, when I think of the Dragon Boat Festival, 2 things come to mind immediately.
Yeah.
The Dragon Boat races and Zongzi.
Oh yeah, those are the classics.
And it turns out they both have ancient origins, echoing rituals that were designed to appease river gods and ensure safety on the water.
It's fascinating how these ancient practices have evolved into these vibrant celebrations we see today.
It really is. And speaking of the Dragon Boat races, did you know that?
Oh, I was just going to say there's this really cool cultural tidbit about the races. So the people from the Wu and Yu regions where the races originated, they believe that they were descendants of dragons.
Wow. So the races take on a whole new meaning for them.
Exactly. It connects them to their ancestral heritage and strengthens their cultural identity.
It's amazing how these traditions can tie people to their past. Can you imagine the scene? These long, narrow boats, each one with a fierce dragon head. And they're propelled by teams of paddlers drumming in unison. Must be quite a spectacle to watch.
Oh, it is. It's this captivating display of athleticism and teamwork.
And of course, we can't forget about the zanzi, those pyramid-shaped rice dumplings wrapped in bamboo leaves.
Those are so good. And they have quite a story behind them, too. According to legend, they were originally thrown into the river to prevent fish from eating Kuo Yuan's body.
Oh, wow. That's a poignant act of respect and remembrance. So it's like a culinary tribute to this historical figure.
You could say that.
So we've got the boat races, we've got the zongzi, but the Dragon Boat Festival is about so much more than that. It's like a whole sensory experience overflowing with traditions meant to repel evil and attract good luck.
Right, like people hang mugwort, calamus, and banyan branches on their doors. They believe that the strong scents of these plants will ward off pests and evil spirits.
It's like a natural form of pest control.
Exactly. And they also display images of Zonku. He's this mythical demon queller.
Kind of like a spiritual bodyguard.
Exactly. And people also wear these fragrant pouches filled with herbs. They're thought to protect against disease and misfortune.
So it's like a combination of practicality and superstition all rolled into one.
Yeah, and it's all been passed down through generations to ensure a safe and prosperous summer.
And what about the real gar wine?
Oh, yes. That's a must-have. It's a traditional alcoholic drink that's believed to have medicinal properties and the power to repel venomous creatures.
It's fascinating how this festival blends so many different elements.
It really does. It's like this rich tapestry of tradition, superstition, and celebration.
And it all comes together to create this really unique and meaningful experience.
Exactly. It's a reminder of how deeply connected these festivals are to the human experience.
To our hopes and fears, our history, and our culture.
It's all there woven into the fabric of these celebrations.
From all that energy and excitement of the Dragon Boat Festival, we now move into something a little bit different. It's a more somber, maybe even a little eerie period known as the Ghost Festival, or Luz. And it's also called Ghost Month, which sounds kind of spooky, right?
It does have a bit of a mysterious aura to it.
Yeah. So the story goes that during this time, the gates of hell actually open up, and spirits are free to wander around in the world of the living.
It's a time when that line between the living and the dead gets a little blurry, and people try to find a balance between reverence and, maybe a bit of apprehension.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things people do during the Ghost Festival to kind of navigate all this?
Well, the rituals and celebrations offer a glimpse into this complex relationship people have with the deceased.
Okay, I gotta admit, the whole Ghost Month thing is a little intimidating. What's the overall intention behind all these Ghost Festival rituals?
The main idea is to appease those wandering spirits to make sure they find peace and don't cause any trouble. It's a time to honor ancestors and acknowledge those who have passed on.
So it's about maintaining harmony between the living and the dead.
Exactly. It's like extending a gesture of hospitality, even to those who aren't physically present anymore.
I like that idea. It's like offering them a place at the table, even though they're not here.
Exactly. And the Ghost Festival is a fascinating mix of somber rituals and vibrant festivities.
Okay, so what are some of the ways people celebrate?
Well, up in northern Taiwan, there's the Keelung Ghost Festival. It's known for these really elaborate rituals and offerings, and it attracts huge crowds.
It sounds kind of like a mix of reverence and spectacle.
Yeah, you could say that. And then there's the Grappling the Ghosts ritual, or Oi.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
It's held in Yilan Touching and Pingtung Hington, right?
That's right. It's a pretty captivating event and a little dangerous, too. It really embodies that spirit of the Ghost Festival.
So what happens during the Grappling the Ghosts ritual?
Okay, imagine this. 12 tall pillars, each one covered in grease. They represent the gates to the afterlife. And then teams of 5 strong men compete to climb these slippery pillars.
Wow, that sounds intense.
It is. It's a test of strength, agility, and maybe a little bit of fearlessness.
And they're trying to reach prizes at the top, right?
Exactly. It's a wild spectacle.
But I'm curious about the history behind it. How did this ritual come about?
Well, in Yulon, it's believed to have originated as a way to honor the souls of early settlers who died there. They faced a lot of hardships trying to make a life in a new and challenging environment.
So it's a way to remember their sacrifices and show respect for those who came before.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer of meaning to the competition.
It becomes more than just a physical challenge. It's about connecting with the past.
Right. It's about honoring ancestors and making sure their spirits are at peace.
That's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the Ghost Festival has its share of somber aspects, it's not all about fear and apprehension, right?
Definitely not. There's also an element of celebration, a recognition that life and death are part of a natural cycle.
One practice that really stands out to me is the releasing of water lanterns, or bazillas. It's both visually stunning and symbolically profound.
It really is. It's like this beautiful farewell ritual. Imagine hundreds of these delicate lanterns, each with a flickering flame floating down rivers and out to sea.
It's a way of guiding spirits back to the underworld.
Exactly. It ensures their safe passage and maintains harmony between the realms.
It's a beautiful way to acknowledge that connection between the living and the departed.
It is. It's a reminder that we're all part of this interconnected web of existence.
Yeah, I love that. And from the kind of mysterious depths of Ghost Month, we emerge into the celebration of light and harvest blessings. The Mid-Autumn Festival, or
Yes, the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a time to bask in the glow of the full moon, enjoy some delicious treats, and celebrate the abundance of the harvest.
It's like a collective sigh of relief after the intensity of Ghost Month, a chance to appreciate the simple beauty of life.
I agree. And what I find fascinating is that this festival is celebrated all across East Asia.
It shows how connected we are through shared cultural heritage.
Exactly. We all look up at the same moon and find meaning in its beauty.
There's that beautiful saying, blossoms bloom, the moon is full, and families reunite. It just captures the essence of the Mid-Autumn Festival perfectly.
It does. And moon worship is central to the celebration. There are customs like moon gazing, where people stroll under the moonlight and reflect on its symbolic meaning.
It's also called walking the moon, right?
That's right. And of course, we can't forget about the moon cakes.
Oh, those are a must-have. Those delicious pastries with all the different fillings.
They're not just a treat, they're a symbol of wholeness, unity, and good fortune.
And they often have these intricate designs on them, right?
Yeah, it's incredible the artistry that goes into making them. It reflects the cultural significance of the festival.
And families gather to share mooncakes together. It's a beautiful way to strengthen those bonds and enjoy the sweetness of togetherness.
Exactly. And speaking of sweetness, I gotta mention the pomelos.
Oh yeah, those giant citrus fruits.
Yeah.
What role do they play in all this?
Well, it's all about wordplay. The word for pomelo U sounds like the word for protection.
So eating pomelo during the Mid-Autumn Festival is like receiving protection from the moon.
Exactly. It's a way to ensure a safe and prosperous year ahead.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple acts, like eating a certain fruit, can carry so much meaning and connect people to their cultural heritage.
It really shows how deeply intertwined food and tradition are.
And in a modern twist, barbecues under the moonlight have become a popular way to celebrate.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun way to get together, enjoy the cool autumn air, and create some new memories under the full moon.
It's great how these ancient traditions can adapt and evolve while still honoring the core meaning of the celebration.
It just goes to show that tradition and modernity aren't mutually exclusive. They can coexist and even enrich each other.
Yeah, it really is amazing how food can be so symbolic.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about sustenance, it's about connecting to something bigger.
It really is. Like those pomelos we were talking about. Eat a fruit and you're basically invoking protection from the moon. It's a pretty cool concept.
It is. And it's not just the food, it's the whole experience of these festivals. They're like these living, breathing expressions of culture, you know?
Yeah, they're woven into the fabric of everyday life.
It's what makes them so powerful.
Exactly. They give people a sense of belonging, this connection to something bigger than themselves.
This link to the past, to their ancestors, and a way to carry those traditions forward.
But it's not just about preserving the past either. It's about finding ways to adapt those traditions to a modern context.
Like those moonlit barbecues. Who would have thought they'd become part of the Mid-Autumn Festival?
Right. It's the perfect example of how traditions can evolve while still keeping that core spirit.
So after looking at all these amazing festivals, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive?
I think it's the incredible tapestry of human experience that they represent. All the emotions are there, the joy, the reverence, the fear, the hope. It's all woven into these vibrant celebrations.
It's like each festival offers a glimpse into the heart of Taiwanese culture.
Exactly. You see the history, the beliefs, the values, all wrapped up in these captivating events.
And it reminds us that no matter where we come from, we share these fundamental human needs.
The need for connection, for meaning, for something to believe in.
I think you said that perfectly. So we've come to the end of our deep dive into Taiwanese folk festivals, and we really hope you've gained a new appreciation for their richness and complexity.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to experience one firsthand someday.
There's nothing quite like being swept up in the energy and emotion of these incredible celebrations. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.